Welcome back to the post game. Joining us now, our paisan, Joshua Kahn Russell. Joshua, how you doing, man? How is everything?
What's good?
It's pretty fucking brutal here.
Yeah, not a lot, huh?
You know, but you know, we're hanging in. I think today's show, I think between Chris Smalls and Richard Wolff, there's a sense of possibility and really important things to put forward. So I feel really good about that. And we've got a bunch of sound and a bunch of stuff to get to, but let's start with Rebel music.
Yeah,
Joshua,
let's do it.
What are we doing?
So I was thinking about what to do this week and how we're staring down the barrel of another Great Depression, and that, you know, there's millions of people who aren't sure how they're going to pay their rents, and that for 2 hours a day, everyone's transfixed by Trump on TV, who's like such a good representation of the callousness of capital. And so I wanted to share what is the first that we know of, anti-Trump song ever written, which was written in 1952 by an American icon, Woody Guthrie, who wrote a song about Fred Trump. Well, first, let me just situate it. I'm guessing most of your audience knows about Woody Guthrie, but he's in so many ways just quintessential American hero. He's the ballad of the Dust Bowl, the Dust Bowl socialist. He's probably most famous for his guitar saying "This machine kills fascists." Actually, he's most famous for writing the song "This Land Is Your Land," which all of us, or at least most of us, learned in kindergarten, at least the censored version. Actually, do you want to hear one of the original verses of "This Land Is Your Land" that feels striking right now? That song used to end on the verse, "One bright sunny morning in the shadow of the steeple, by the relief office, I saw my people. As they stood there hungry, I stood there wondering if this land was made for you and me." And that's how the song used to end before it was, you know, taught to kindergartners everywhere. So he's an American hero, American icon, quintessential Americana. Actually, I'll read a Bruce Springsteen quote about him, who said that Woody Guthrie is the core of what it means to be American. He understood you can't tell anyone anything, you have to show them. So one of the most prolific songwriters in U.S. history. Yeah, thanks, Bruce.
Bruce got deep.
So this record that I have here is a 10-inch record that features a song. Boom, and you can see him with his guitar.
Okay.
And it features it's a little.
No, that was better. Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
Cool. Features the song "Old Man Trump," and so in the 1950s, as the story goes, the Guthrie family lived in the Beach Haven apartments in Brooklyn, which was owned by Fred Trump, parasitic real estate developer, who at the time was incredibly racist as well, which is quite a shocker, and was denying housing to Black residents. And so when Woody Guthrie found out about this, he became enraged. He wrote an essay called "Racial Hate at Beach Haven." He wrote a poem called "Beach Haven Race Hate." And it was only pretty recently in the Woody Guthrie archives that there were all of these scraps of songs that were discovered about Fred Trump, all of these kind of angry anti-Trump songs. And so this song "Old Man Trump" is a composite that was put together by his daughter Nora Guthrie and Ryan Harvey, who's a folk singer, who's actually also an old comrade of mine from the Global Justice days, who does great organizing. He spent a lot of the last 2 decades organizing with Iraq Veterans Against the War and Veterans for Peace. He's also a labor organizer. And so they put together these lyrics and kept it all sort of integrous to the original, which there's on the inside of this record. What I'm holding up, if you're listening in, is a photograph of one of them that has these lyrics. "Beach Haven ain't my home. I just can't pay this rent. My money's down the drain and my soul is badly bent. Beach Haven looks like Trump's heaven, where no Black ones come to roam. No, 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 old man Trump. Old Beach Haven ain't my home. And so the only lyric that they changed with the permission of the Guthrie family was instead of saying Beach Haven is Trump's heaven, they changed it to Beach Haven is Trump's tower, to bring it into sort of contemporary times. And so they recorded that song with Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine and Ani DeFranco. And when they recorded the music video, they recorded it with the Baltimore Right to Housing Alliance, which is doing organizing with Black residents all throughout Baltimore for housing access. And I actually called Ryan before this segment to be like, hey, is there anything you can tell me about this song before I share it with TMBS listeners? And he was saying that they recorded it in Ani DeFranco's living room. And she kept telling him to like punch it up, like go harder, go harder. And it, he's, I think I actually originally met him in the punk scene, and it really captures that kind of visceral anger that Woody Guthrie had and that he infused into American folk music. And his daughter, Woody Guthrie's daughter, Nora Guthrie, said about the song, "I don't want any misunderstanding of what this is about. This is about the Trump family and their racist history." So one of the reasons why I want to share it, and you should definitely check out the video, is also that, Woody Guthrie is a product of one of the great American eviction stories, as so many Americans are facing eviction right now. The Great Depression in the Dust Bowl saw the forced migration of poor people, of Native Americans, of Mexican Americans from the center of the country to the coasts, particularly California, where they got stopped at the border, denied entry, evaluated and judged whether they would be quote unquote productive members of society. And so he's a product of displacement. He's a product of sort of fighting these finance and development conglomerates. And he's also a result of transformation and change. One of the things that I love that you constantly point out on the show, Michael, is how we need to give people space to change and transform. And Woody Guthrie actually, growing up in Oklahoma, his father was said to have participated in lynchings. He was, a product of white supremacy. And of course, was infused with that as a young kid. And there's a radio show that he was on in LA where he was doing this kind of racist sort of minstrel show that, Woody Guthrie was a racist explicitly. And, but he was also a man of the people. And he was doing kind of like the audio version of blackface. And one of the Black listeners of the radio show wrote a letter and said, "What are you doing? I'm a human being. Like what? Like this is," and he immediately on the next radio show went on and said, I did this thing and it was wrong, and you're never going to hear this kind of shit from me ever again. And didn't make a whole bunch of fanfare of it, but publicly owned it, disavowed it, moved on, and became one of the great anti-racist songwriters of our time, because he was working with working people and poor people, and reality was bumping up against his conditioning. So it's also a story of transformation and that people can change.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. This is definitely, I also love fleshing out and filling in. It's a cool song. It's definitely interesting that even the kind of sanitized version still has as much play as it does, but the story and the energy and the politics behind it are obviously really relevant today, and they obviously teach us something different about Americanness, including some really great things. I love Cornel West always holding the dialectic of America as an empire and all of these things, but also as a place with so much struggle for democratic impulse, manifesting in so many different ways. And Woody Guthrie's an example of that. You just watched a Michael Brooks show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.